House of the Dragon, the legacy of the Targaryens, led by King Viserys Targaryen. During Viserys' reign, House Targaryen soared to new heights, commanding 10 powerful dragons, a force unmatched by any other power in the world. Viserys ruled for 60 years, maintaining peace across his realms. However, the king had grown old, and having lost his sons to various tragedies, he knew his own end was near. He convened a council to choose an heir to the throne. Two candidates were eligible: Prince Viserys, his close nephew, and Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, the king's eldest daughter. Ultimately, the king and the lords of the Seven Kingdoms chose Viserys as their heir, naming him the Prince of Dragonstone. Princess Rhaenyra was denied the throne simply because she was a woman, and as history dictated that only a male could rule. But now, history is gonna change. Years later, when King Viserys' wife, Queen Aemma, was about to give birth to their second child, the kingdom was filled with an atmosphere of joy. Viserys was confident that he would finally have a son, an heir to his throne. To celebrate the anticipated birth of a son, Viserys organized a brutal tournament featuring prince, lords, and skilled warriors from various noble houses. While the tournament was underway, Queen Aemma gave birth to a son, but she tragically lost her life in the process. The heir for whom Queen Aemma had sacrificed her life also died shortly after birth. Now, in the eyes of the small council, only two people remained who could become the next heir to the throne: Prince Daemon Targaryen and Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen. Daemon Targaryen was Viserys' younger brother and had his sights set on the king's throne. He was a formidable warrior whom others feared to challenge, and for him, violence was the only solution to every problem. On the other hand, Rhaenyra Targaryen was Viserys' eldest daughter. However, because she was a girl, Viserys did not even consider making her the heir. Viserys decided that neither of them would be his heir for the throne. Small council suggests Viserys to marry again for an heir. Otto Hightower, who served as Viserys' advisor, holding the title of Hand of the King, manipulated his daughter Alicent Hightower to marry the king. Otto knew that Viserys was alone and vulnerable during this time of grief. Therefore, he instructed Alicent to grow closer to the king and spend more time with him by engaging with his favorite books and historical texts. Otto Hightower's intentions were not good, yet Viserys remained completely unaware of his scheme. Meanwhile, Daemon was indulging in debauchery with his friends, though he himself remained deeply melancholy. For him, such a rivalry was merely a way to stave off loneliness and cope with the grief over the deaths of Prince Balon and Queen Aemma. Otto tells Viserys about this, but from a different perspective. He claims that the previous night, Prince Daemon was celebrating Prince Balon's death at a brothel and proclaiming himself the heir to the throne. Upon hearing this, Viserys banishes Daemon from King's Landing. Daemon was aware that the people in the small council were siding with Viserys for their own gain, and he even aware Viserys about Otto Hightower. However, Viserys had complete trust in Otto, regarding him as an honest and loyal man. Witnessing all of Daemon's actions, Viserys chooses Princess Rhaenyra as the next heir to the Iron Throne. In a grand assembly, the lords of the Seven Kingdoms swears oath of loyalty to Rhaenyra, the new successor. It was a historic moment, the first time a woman was said to ascend the Iron Throne. Meanwhile, Lord Corlys Velaryon of Driftmark proposes that Viserys marry his daughter, Lady Lyanna, to strengthen the ties between their houses. However, the issue was that Lady Lyanna was still a child. At the same time, Daemon travels to the Dragonstone and steals a dragon egg belonging to the dragon Dreamfire from the dragon pit at King's Landing. Driven by a desire to humiliate his brother Viserys, Daemon sends a deceptive letter to Viserys claiming that Lady Massaria, his mistress, known as the White Worm, is pregnant. He stole the egg because, according to Targaryen tradition, a dragon egg is placed alongside a royal infant at birth to forge an unbreakable, deep, and psychic bond between the child and the dragon. Viserys is furious because Daemon had stolen the egg that had been chosen for Prince Balon, an egg he intended to use for the child he was expecting with his mistress. Viserys orders Otto to retrieve the egg. Otto arrives at Dragonstone with a few soldiers, but Daemon flatly refuses to hand it over. Then neither Otto nor the accompanying soldiers have the courage to confront Daemon and his dragon Caraxes. Just then Princess Rhaenyra arrives with her dragon Syrax and Daemon hands the egg over to her. Meanwhile, Viserys rejects Lord Corlys' proposal and decides to marry Lady Alicent Hightower. Lord Corlys didn't tolerate this insult, feeling that the king values Otto Hightower more than his own illustrious house. Consequently, he leaves King's Landing for his home at Driftmark. He summons Daemon and attempts to incite him against Viserys, saying, "We have both fallen victim to the political machinations of his hand, Otto Hightower, and he stripped you of your position as heir." Corlys remarked that while Viserys secured the throne easily, men like us, we have to prove our strength. Then he puts a proposal to Daemon. There is a man whom we shall kill without the king's help and prove their mettle. Lord Corlys tells Daemon about the heir, known to people as the Craft Feeder, who has seized control of the small islands situated between the Stepstones and Essos, islands that are themselves the part of the Stepstones. Drahar plunders ship passing through these waters and feeds the people aboard to crabs. This presented a mutually beneficiary opportunity. Lord Corlys's maritime trade routes would be cleared and Daemon would get the chance to prove his valor. Since the Stepstones lay far beyond and apart from the Seven Kingdoms, it was a region that no one had been able to control for long. Daemon accepts Lord Corlys' proposal and prepares for war. 3 years later, King Viserys' wife, Queen Alicent, was expecting their second child, while their firstborn, Aegon, was 2 years old. To celebrate Aegon's second birthday, Viserys, Alicent and Rhaenyra traveled to the King's Wood for festivities and entertainment. There, Lord Jason Lannister attempted to woo Rhaenyra, but she detested such forward behavior. Viserys pressured Rhaenyra to marry, yet she was unwilling. She felt that marrying so soon would reduce her to nothing more than a childbearing machine. Rhaenyra also harbored resentment toward Viserys, fearing that the birth of Aegon would cost her rightful claim as heir to the throne. Angered by Viserys, she wandered into the depths of the King's Wood, where a wild boar attacked her. Just then, Sir Criston Cole, her sworn protector, arrived and killed the beast. For the past 3 years, Daemon and Lord Corlys had been waging war against the heir, the Craft Feeder, in the Stepstones, yet victory had eluded them. One day, Daemon approached Drahar alone, feigning surrender. As soon as Drahar and his soldiers emerged from their caves, Daemon and the entire Valyrian army launched a fierce assault. Then ultimately, Daemon killed Drahar and claimed the crown of the Stepstones. He returns to King's Landing and hands over the crown to the king, which greatly pleases Viserys. Rhaenyra congratulates Daemon and asks why he has returned after 3 years. Daemon replies and says memories of home and a sense of belonging drew him back. He asks if she ever gets bored here. Rhaenyra responds and says, "What else can I do? My father wants to marry me off to someone with a grand state, but I have no desire to marry at all. I simply want solitude and peace, nothing else." That same night, Daemon disguises Rhaenyra as a boy and takes her out of the palace via a secret passage, leading her through the streets and markets of King's Landing. He wants to show her the mindset of the common people and convey the true meaning of being a Targaryen. Daemon believes that Targaryens stand above the rules and constraints created by ordinary humans. He takes her to a theatrical performance where the common folk are openly mocking the idea of a woman, especially Rhaenyra, being chosen as the heir. The people believe that Aegon, not Rhaenyra, should be the next king simply because she is a girl. Witnessing this makes Rhaenyra furious and she tells to Daemon none of their words matters to her. Daemon shows Rhaenyra various sights and scenes typical of the streets and markets of King's Landing. Rhaenyra thoroughly enjoys exploring the markets. Then Daemon takes her to a secret brothel in the city's most notorious district. Initially, Rhaenyra is taken aback by the uninhibited atmosphere there. Then Daemon moves closer to her and an intimate moment unfolds as they begin to kiss. This marks the beginning of the relationship between Rhaenyra and Daemon, a pivotal moment destined to alter the history of the House of the Dragon. The next day, Viserys learns of these events. Appalled by the shameful and vile remarks made about his daughter and brother, he banishes Otto Hightower from King's Landing and strips him of his title, the Hand of the King. Viserys summons Daemon and asks if what he heard is true. Daemon does not deny the incident at the brothel, leading Viserys to believe the reports were accurate, though Daemon had a different agenda all along. Daemon tells Viserys he wishes to marry Princess Rhaenyra, arguing that in accordance with ancient Valyrian tradition, Targaryens could marry within the family. In reality, Daemon's sole objective had always been the Iron Throne, the very seat of power for which Rhaenyra was currently the designated heir. Viserys realizes that Daemon has no love for Rhaenyra. He is merely using her to seize the throne. Viserys is furious with Daemon and does not even wish to see him. Then Viserys banishes Daemon from King's Landing. After the incident at the brothel, Viserys did not want anyone mocking his heir or fueling gossip throughout the realm. He decided to have Rhaenyra marry Sir Lenor Velaryon, the son of Lord Corlys Velaryon. Rhaenyra agreed to the marriage this time, as she too did not want anyone questioning her character. The union was a political maneuver, a fact both Lenor and Rhaenyra understood. They agreed to the match, and following a grand celebration and feast, Rhaenyra married Sir Lenor. As the time passed, King Viserys grew weaker by the day. He was afflicted with a leprosy-like disease. In fact, the Iron Throne had a history of its own. Whenever a weak king sat upon it, the throne would inflict minor wounds on him, and due to his illness, these wounds would not heal. The disease was consuming Viserys' body cells, and his immune system was unable to heal him. 10 years later, Rhaenyra and Alicent had grown up. Rhaenyra had 3 sons, Jace Velaryon, Luke Velaryon, and Joffrey Velaryon, while Alicent had 3 sons and 1 daughter, Aegon Targaryen, Aemond Targaryen, Daeron Targaryen, and Helena Targaryen. Among them all, the most dangerous was Aemond Targaryen, who possessed Vhagar, the largest and oldest dragon. Now things had changed. Significantly by then, Alicent and Otto believed that since Aegon was the king's eldest son, the Iron Throne should rightfully go to him. Yet the king had already designated Rhaenyra as his heir. One day, a fight broke out between Alicent's and Rhaenyra's son. During the altercation, Luke gouged out one of Aemond's eyes. When Alicent learned of this, she was consumed by rage and attempted to attack Luke to exact revenge by taking one of his eyes. In fact, the conflict had started because Aemond and Aegon were taunting Jace and Luke, calling them illegitimate children, which provoked Jace and Luke to attack them, and a fight ensued. Throughout that entire decade, a cold war was brewing within the palace between Queen Alicent and Rhaenyra. Alicent kept questioning the legitimacy of Rhaenyra's children because of their brown hair, contrary to the expectation that they would have the silver-white hair characteristic of their lineage. In reality, because Sir Lenor was attracted to men, he and Rhaenyra were unable to conceive children together. Consequently, Rhaenyra had to enter into a relationship with Sir Harwin Strong, the commander of the City Watch. Rhaenyra realized that Alicent had turned against her, and she would have to fight to secure her claim to the throne. She needed a partner who was a formidable warrior and a figure who commanded fear. She turned to Daemon and asked him to become her husband, ensuring that no one would dare challenge or threaten her in the future. Daemon and Rhaenyra could only become husband and wife if Lenor died. That is why Daemon had his soldier kill Lenor, and the two of them got married and left for Dragonstone. A few years later, Viserys' condition had deteriorated significantly, and the rift between Alicent and Rhaenyra was widening, as Alicent and Otto Hightower were effectively running King's Landing. Meanwhile, the time had come to choose an heir for Driftmark. By rights, it should have been Rhaenyra's second son, Luke. However, Aemond Velaryon, Lord Corlys Velaryon's younger brother, laid claim to succession himself. This dispute arose after Lord Corlys had been critically wounded and struck by a severe fever during the war on the Stepstones, leading many to believe he would not survive. Aemond argued that the seat of Driftmark belonged only to someone of pure Velaryon blood. Since Sir Harwin Strong was the true father of Rhaenyra's son, Aemond asserted that he is the rightful heir rather than Jace or Luke. Then Viserys enters the court, takes his seat on the throne, and declares Luke Luke, the heir to Driftmark. Hearing this, Waemon flies into a rage, calling Rhaenyra a whore and her sons bastards. Then Daemon beheads Waemon right there in the court. Viserys' reign was drawing into a close and he wanted to see his entire family laughing together one last time and for them to see him exactly as he was in that moment. So he invites his whole family to a feast where everyone becomes emotional upon seeing his frail condition. Later, however, they all enjoy the banquet happily. Seeing their smiling faces, Viserys grows emotional and smiles, and that very night he passes away. As soon as the king dies, Otto and Alicent and the entire small council begin plotting to kill Rhaenyra and Daemon so that Aegon can ascend the throne unopposed. However, Aegon has no interest in becoming king as he prefers a life of debauchery. One day, while indulging in his hedonistic pursuits, he gets kidnapped. Aemond and Sir Criston set out to find him. Meanwhile, Otto dispatches 2 twin Kingsguard knights to search the streets of King's Landing. He eventually discovers that Aegon is being held by the Lady Massaria, the White Worm. She strikes a deal with Otto in exchange for Aegon. She demands that once he becomes king, he must completely shut down the bloody fighting pits where children are forced to battle and put an end to the atrocities inflicted upon them. Otto accepts Lady Massaria's terms. Now the people of King's Landing are summoned to the big house of Dragon Pit and get informed that King Viserys has passed away. Aegon is then proclaimed the new king before the assembled crowd. The people cheer for Aegon. Saying this, Aegon is delighted and declares himself king of the 7 kingdoms. Suddenly the floor of the arena bursts open from below and Princess Rhaenys appears before Aegon, mounted on her dragon, Meleys. Rhaenys could have avoided the impending war by incinerating them all right there, but she chooses not to because this war was not hers to fight. It belonged to King Viserys' heir, Rhaenyra. Rhaenys informs Rhaenyra of Viserys' death and the news of the new king, Aegon. She warns her that they are coming to kill you and your children and argues her to prepare for war. At that moment, Rhaenyra was about to give birth to another child. Tragically, the baby is stillborn. While the child is being cremated, Sir Eric Cargill, one of the twin Kingsguard knights from King's Landing, arrives at Dragonstone. He presents King Viserys' crown to Rhaenyra, acknowledges her as his queen, and swears his loyalty to her. It is not just Sir Eric, but also Daemon and everyone else who present there, accept Rhaenyra as their queen and pledge their allegiance to her. Then Otto Hightower arrives at Dragonstone bearing a message from the new king in King's Landing. The people of King's Landing wanted Rhaenyra to accept Aegon as her king and quietly remain at Dragonstone, but Rhaenyra refuses to bow to the Hightowers. Rhaenyra and Daemon, along with all the allied and related kingdoms that had sworn oaths of loyalty to Rhaenyra as the heir during the King Viserys' reign, set their plans in motion. Rhaenyra decides to remind them of those oaths and sends messages to the loyal lords, calling upon those who stand with her to join the war. Lord Corlys has also returned by now, and the entire House Velaryon stands with Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra's son, Jace, heads north with his dragon Vormax to deliver the Queen's message to the Lords of the Vale and Winterfell. Meanwhile, Luke travels south with his dragon Arrax to convey the Queen's message to Lord Boros Baratheon of the Stormlands. Upon Luke's arrival in the Storm's land, he finds Aemond already there. Aemond too had come to secure Baratheon's support. In fact, Aemond, acting on behalf of King Aegon and Alicent, had proposed marriage to one of Lord Boros's 4 daughters, and in exchange for this political alliance, Lord Boros had promised to place his entire army at King Aegon's disposal. In contrast, Luke arrived bearing only a letter from his mother, which invoked the oath of loyalty sworn by Boros's father. Furthermore, since Luke was already married, he could not offer a marriage proposal. Dismissing the notions of loyalty and oaths, Lord Boros declared, "I am not your mother's obedient dog, ready to rush and maul her enemies whenever the need arises." Lord Boros rejected Luke's proposal, and as soon as Luke departed from the Stormlands, Aemond and his dragon Vhagar gave chase. Aemond sought revenge, an eye for an eye. Luke tried to flee with his dragon, but ultimately Vhagar devoured both Arrax and Luke. Aemond was terrified by Vhagar's action, as he had not intended to kill Luke. He had only wanted one of his eyes. News of this incident reaches Rhaenyra, causing her blood to boil, and now Rhaenyra wanted revenge.